and I'm extremely pleased to present the next student, Greg Loughman. And I would like to read a little bit about Greg. Greg is, bassist Greg Loughman is emphatically lyrical, according to Scott Albin, and plays with sublime authority, Raul, according to Raul Gamma Rose, and delivered the foundation and also intriguing melodic bass, according to Bill Donaldson. He performed regularly with Gypsy Jazz Group, the Rhythm Future Quartet, and with Jerry Bergonzi, Al Garper, and Mark Murphy, among many others. Greg's presentation today is titled Connections, Creating Bonds and Building Bridges in Music Society. Greg is advised by Maestro Alan Chase, and as a committee member, he has Maestro Jerry Leak. They're both present. Thank you for being here, as well as Maestro Giuliano, artistic director Danilo Perez, and every other faculty present. Fernando, I see Fernando Huerco. Thank you so much for being with us. And Greg, good luck, and you can start your presentation.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Marco and Danilo and everybody at BGJI. It's been an amazing year plus with a little extra there. And thank you to all my fellow students and to everybody for coming. It's really great to see everybody. My video that I'm going to present is a little bit long, so I'm going to just kind of jump right into it. But as I'm presenting the video, like there's the little zoom icon that stays up in the starts up in the right-hand corner. And I realized when I was looking at it last night that if you move it down to the lower left-hand corner, it's less in the way of any text that might come in. So if you see any text that's hidden by that, you can just like move it out of the way. One of the things that I love about the Global Jazz Institute program is the way that it asks you to engage with who you are as an artist. What music do you love, and why do you love it? What role has music played in your life, and what role should music play in society more broadly? What do you value, and how does your musical career reflect those values? As I thought about these things, I kept coming back to the idea of connection. As someone who grew up in a small town, music was my passport, my way to connect with the wider world in all of its beautiful diversity. But we live in increasingly disconnected times. Long before COVID and all the current political divisions, the connective fabric of society has been fraying at the edges. What we're experiencing now has been years in the making and will take years to mend, but I truly believe that as artists, we can make a difference. This first piece is my setting of a song called Darling Nellie Gray, a Civil War era folk song about a runaway slave pining for his lost love who was captured and sold back into bondage. It was written by Benjamin Hamby, a minister and abolitionist whose family was part of the Underground Railroad in Ohio. Then in 1915, Ralph Chapin set the same tune to different lyrics for a song called The Commonwealth of Toil, an anthem in the fight for labor unions. I chose this song for its connection to the long history of racial, political, and economic tension in the United States. And I arranged it to highlight the juxtaposition between the egalitarian, melting pot self-image we have as Americans and the conflicts that we're facing now, which have really always existed below the surface.
in addition to feeling disconnected from the strangers that we share this country with, we're also increasingly disconnected from our friends and loved ones. Social isolation is not only bad for society, it's bad for our health as well. When you combine the effects of this level of chronic division and increasing social isolation, it's no surprise to see the distrust and conflict that arises. this culture of division and isolation, it's really no surprise that we see a rise in what sociologists call diseases and deaths of despair. Divided racially, divided politically, divided economically, and increasingly isolated not only from our neighbors, but from our friends and loved ones as well. As a society and as individuals, we are profoundly unwell, and we see the effects of that around us every day. Trust in our institutions and in each other is crumbling, division and hate crimes are on the rise, and deaths of despair are skyrocketing. But what can I do about it? I'm just a bass player. I just want to make good music with people that I love and respect, and hope that the joy that I experience when creating music resonates with whoever's listening. Music has the power to inspire and connect. I know that from my own life experience. Music has taken me from a small town in Ohio to around the world and has allowed me to connect with people of all sorts of backgrounds and cultures and ideologies. Can I help others forge similar connections? What can we all do as artists to strengthen bonds and build bridges in our communities? In my research, I found that listening to music, joining in group activities, and helping others all have a positive effect on our physical, mental, and emotional health. If we come together and combine the power of music, the power of community, and the power of generosity, we might just be able to fight against the powers of division and isolation. All of this has led me to create an organization that I'm calling New England Jazz Connections, or NEJC. The mission of NEJC is to connect musicians and audiences and performance spaces to put on unique shows that help to raise money for worthy causes.
Wow, Greg, this was stunning. Oh my gosh, what a beautiful video. And Joe Musakia, congratulations, incredible. So beautiful. Really, really stunning work.
Thank you.
And the music, so beautiful. Great. Well, exciting. I would like to immediately give the word to your advisor or your committee member, Alan Chase and Jerry Lee. Do you have any comment or question?
Yeah, I could start. I have a question, but first I just want to say how much I appreciate your work, Greg. This is a beautiful project. It's so heartfelt. You reimagined the whole visual presentation this fall and used the extra time to take a project that was already excellent and make it really a beautiful work of art, visually as well as, and Joe as well. Great collaboration. The music is stunning. It sounds better to me, and every time I hear it, I hear new things in it. Great playing. I want to talk to you about your playing, since this is a performance degree, and sometimes we have so many balls in the air, composing, producing, uh, being an artist in the world, and then making a difference in the world socially. All these things are at play here, as they are in all these projects, and so beautifully integrated here. But I wanted to ask you something about your playing in a moment. I just wanted to say a couple of things to everyone who's listening. That when Greg first talked to me about this project, one thing that was really conscious was, I believe, I could say this, you can correct me, Greg, if you want to say it differently, but you were thinking about making the music that you care about, that's modern and creative and interactive and has all the qualities you love in music, but that also can reach people concerned about how modern creative jazz can be sort of an inside thing for a very small audience of very hip people sometimes, and reaching out to a wider audience through, and you were conscious of some musical elements, and in your earlier version of the presentation you actually delineated some of those things, like the use of inverted tonic major triads that evoke kind of folkloric and gospel and more kind of widely understood musics and strong emotions and things like that, repeated notes and rhythmic ideas. And I just feel, I was thinking about that as I was listening to it, like, where did this start? It's so beautifully integrated. It all sounds coherent together. This like a suite of music that makes sense. I think anybody could enjoy it, and yet it has a lot for the professional musician to hear. So I just wanted to kind of say that, and you
Thank
kind of
you.
laid that out in your earlier PowerPoint version of the presentation. I think this is, even more, this carries the message of what you're really about in this project. I also just want to say it's so amazing that you've already, we've often heard projects that are about the goal of creating an organization or raising money or making a difference. And you've already started doing that significantly against the worst odds any of us have probably lived through since, many decades in this country anyway, with this pandemic. To put on concerts and raise thousands of dollars for good causes is a beautiful thing and a great start for something that'll grow much more, I'm sure. So my
Thank you. I
question,
just want
sorry,
to.
that's the
Sorry.
longest I've ever talked in one of these.
I
Go
just
ahead.
want to
Yeah.
quickly jump in and just give a shout out to, like, a lot of the money that was raised wasn't raised by me. Like, Anton put together a group, and that was $1,000 raised for the California wildfire relief. And my friend Brian Friedland was involved with the Elliott School, and so a lot of it was just, I kind of like, I reached out to people, but they ran with it, and it was really so inspiring for me to see that happen, and just to, like, I don't need to take credit for it. I just love that it happened, and if I was able to kind of like move things in that direction, that's really what I'm trying to do with this organization. I'm not trying to make it about myself. I'm about trying to empower, like, everybody to, like, kind of work together to make something happen.
Yeah, that's great. And your organization, it seems like, can continue facilitating, helping artists get their music out there while raising money for things like this. Great thing to do. The question, I'll just cut to that, is just how your playing has grown. We talked about this a little bit privately the other day, and I feel like you were a really well-respected professional player among many people I know before you started this program, and I hear growth in your playing. I hear new things, and really sounds like you learned a lot in a year and a half and grew as a bassist. And I just wondered if you could say something about that.
Yeah, sure. I'll start with like the private teachers that I had. I took 2 semesters with Susan Hagen and 2 semesters with Linda O. And Susan, like, I really didn't have a lot of Arco stuff together, and she not only helped me with that, but like just a general fretboard kind of like fingerboard kind of like sure-footedness. Like I still have a long way to go with it, but the things that she kind of unlocked for me in that way were amazing. And with Linda O, just a lot of conceptual stuff. Every time I had a lesson with her, she would like introduce me to new music or a new approach to things, and so that was really amazingly helpful. And a lot of the stuff that I've learned from both Susan and Linda is stuff that I still like. I'm getting ready to start working on it now that I have a little bit of time, and then also, of course, the bass guest artist Ben Street. His advice was always a little bit more mystical, but in this beautiful way, and like really made me think about things in a really interesting way. And the opportunity to work with Maestro Patitucci is just incredible for any bass player. Like you said, like I've been a professional bass player for a while now. And it's kind of like with this whole presentation, like you said, I had a presentation and I went and did another one because I had wanted to kind of like move deeper. That's the whole mission here for me as a player, or also just as a musician and as an artist in the world. My whole reason for coming to the global program, coming out of being already a working musician, is good enough isn't good enough. I wanted to like see how much deeper I could go as a musician, and through the mentorship of all the BGI faculty and guest artists, and through the companionship and of my peers in this class of 2020 and the whole BGJI family, it's been an incredible journey for me of growth. And to have that at this point in my career is really, I can't say how meaningful it is to me.
Great work. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Jerry, do you want to say a couple of words? Yes, sure.
Nah, no, just kidding. Greg, fantastic. I mean, my God, I got so many comments about the presentation and the formatting and the music, of course, and to be invited in to participate and play on Horizons, which is such a beautiful way to end the project. It's a great piece, and it's like an overture to the world. So I think that touched me very deeply. But we've been colleagues for decades and friends. And, with an opportunity to play together in world music context like Natraj, and you're such a prominent figure in the jazz world, and I still remember the day I saw your name on the list of admitted students for my class. So that goes without saying that I was thrilled to work with you. Your humility, your dedication, your skill, and your curiosity on things that I would talk about in class and then follow up on, like the incredible bell pattern Danilo created in 15/8 that became part of the middle section of Horizons. I think that was a big inspiration there. And Danilo's creation has inspired me for many years. I'm still going deeper on all the polyrhythms of this fantastic, wonderful pattern. So I want to do a shout out to Danilo for that. I've done beat-tots on a beat-tot on that particular pattern, so that was fantastic. But as my observation is, your project really hits at the core and relevant issues of today's society. Racial divide, economic inequality, and justice for those who are underserved, and isolation. This is the core of Global's mission. So to enact social change, through your music and performing arts, you adhere to the project goals with passion and clarity. And I didn't know about the full picture of how the video actually evolved, but that's fascinating to hear and see. And your compositions highlight the depth of your presentation. And the decision to produce a personal and heartfelt video really brings us, the audience, closer to the essence of your project. We really feel it on a very profound level, the visual side. Music is visual anyway. We can really start to visualize themes, but you really hit home, and the themes connected very intimately and revealed other levels to your technological skills, working with Joe, who's an old colleague as well from NEC, a student of mine. So that's great to see you, Joseph. So, reaching across multimedia platforms is really relevant. And this is because the world has always needs strong, passionate, and creative advocates to enact social change. So, God bless you for that. I think your project could be submitted to PBS television for broadcast as an example. This is a complete work of art with a higher message for the entire world. So I would advise you and suggest that you keep going this route because it seems to be the times of today. The video, the visual, connecting the dots, and really making it not just a tune, but a story with a complete arc from beginning to end, really beautifully portrayed and filmed. And so, we could go into the details of that. I'm sure your relationship with Joe has also strengthened over the years. But I guess a general question along the lines of, how has Global helped you elevate your music beyond perhaps some of the things that you've mentioned, and your relationship with the students and the faculty? So if there's another little point you could add to that, that would be really fantastic to hear. So thank you.
Yeah, I think Global specifically, the things that Danilo has had us work on, and you as well, with rhythmic embodiment and the kind of like the Afrocentric rhythmic sensibility has really been eye-opening for me and really opened some doors in terms of like how I approach trying to groove and trying to make music that has some kind of deep cohesion to it. And like I said, like with all these things, I'm looking forward to working on this stuff now going forward for the rest of my life. As long as I can hold up a bass, I'm going to be working on this stuff. So thank you so much for that gift of something to like really, like that. Like I felt like before I come to Global, I felt like I kind of plateaued. Like I knew that there was another level to play at, and I didn't quite know how to get from where it was to where it was. And Danilo's ideas about tetrachords and harmonic ideas about light and dark have been really beautiful and deep. And again, I want to spend more time getting into it. And Jerry, you and Danilo's work with the rhythmic aspects of things has been really amazing as well. So all of that I feel like has really informed my playing. And just being in the same room with somebody like John Patitucci and watching him play so amazingly is really an inspiration. To see it physically, like 5 feet away, and to get to know John and have him be such a warm human being has been amazing as well. So all of it has really been incredible.
We're your global family now, but this is always forever. Families, they never change in that connection and intimacy. So that's what I like to think my association with all my students is. But really, Global has really expressed that so beautifully, and it is forever. So God bless you, and you can join my class again anytime. By the way, so that was kind of fun having you come in and review, as we call it. So thank you.
Yeah.
For that.
Maybe I could take that class for like 10 years and still not quite get it, but I'm working on it.
Me too, brother. Me too.
Thank you so much, Jerry. I would like to invite any other part of the committee to have any comments. By the way, Greg, I resonate with everything that Alan and Jerry said. The music is so beautiful, and I'm so happy that you feature yourself so much in such a beautiful and artistic and creative way, and the sound of your bass, very, very, everything really, really inspiring. I say, can you tell me a little bit more about this organization, the future project you have, and also a little bit about the production with Joe. Some of these murals we saw, they were so beautiful, and now you captured with the music and Joe with the images. Is such a statement you made. It's very inspiring.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so the organization, we kind of like just started and just jumped in with it. So I kind of like reached out to musicians that I knew, like my network of friends and musicians, and none of us got paid for any of it in terms of like the actual performances. We all just kind of volunteered and put out like basically, because we had to kind of control for crowd size, we just said like, we limited the number of people who'd come and said like, if you donate to this cause at whatever at whatever you choose, like make a donation of the size of your choosing, we'll tell you the location that we're playing at. So in order, like we didn't give out the location until you actually donated, and that was a way to both control for the crowd size and also to get people to donate to the causes, which is the point of these performances. So that's kind of like that was an interesting idea, and I kind of want to explore that a little bit more in terms of like putting on concerts in really evocative locations, like you saw like those the cages, like for that song Isolation. There's these old abandoned bear cages in Franklin Park, and having that be a location for a jazz concert, I think would be super interesting and evocative. Or like the murals at the end in Horizons. That's 90 Traveler Street is the address of the underground art ink block, I think it's called, and it's just like this rotating, like they hire muralists to come in and do various things, and it's a really interesting place in the city that is otherwise just kind of like a concrete wasteland, you know. So finding interesting places to present jazz, I think, will kind of be put on. It'll make the shows more interesting for the audience. It'll make it more interesting for the players, and if we can also add the idea of like have it being fundraising stuff, like the mural space is right around the corner from the Pine Street Inn, so that could be a connection. So all sorts of things like that. Like these are the ideas that I have going forward, and I would love to apply for grants to actually be able to pay the musicians for playing, because I do think that musicians should get paid to play. I like to get paid to play when I can, and that would also help me to entice more musicians to be involved, because a lot of the musicians that I not a lot, but like some of the musicians that I talked to about it said like, you know, my plate's a little bit full for doing volunteer work right now, but if you know, if you could pay me, maybe I could do it next time. So, which is completely reasonable and understandable. So I'd love to be able to actually like give the musicians like a guaranteed paycheck, and then they could, you know, feel better about like going out and fundraising.
You know, by the way, I agree with Jerry 100%. I think this should go on PBS. Absolutely.
Thank you.
It really should. You guys should have to push this out as much as possible.
And hopefully they'd pay you for it. So
Yeah.
Joe, do you want to say a couple words?
Sure. Yeah. Just, I guess the first thing I'll say is that the music has just been so amazing to like listen to a million times over and over and over and over again. And I haven't gotten tired of it. We have a funny like little blooper of us talking about that when we were doing the voiceover recording, and it's just, there's no, it's such beautiful music, and it's been a pleasure to work on it. And also just, it's been such a pleasure to work with Greg in general, because this was a very visually collaborative effort. I'm a musician, Greg's a musician, but we both together have some really strong visual ideas and concepts that we collaborated on together. And we spent a lot of time just at my desk, like editing the film together, figuring out what we wanted to do where and all that stuff. And it was a really beautiful experience. And I just want to thank Greg for including me and having me be a part of it. And yeah, it's really cool. So thanks for all of the amazing feedback as well. I love hearing the positive response is really moving. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Great work.
Thank you.
Maestro Lovano, would you like to say a couple words?
Yeah, Greg, thank you, man. That was really, really fantastic, man.
Thank
And
you.
the question, you know, you were asking the question within your title about connections and creating bonds and building bridges, and how do you do that, you know, with music and within the society we're living in, you know, the whole multimedia presentation was really fantastic. A great collaboration, you know, was excellent, and really at a high level of professionalism, man. As a producer, like, you know, the editing, the whole film and the recording, the post-production work. I know you put a lot of work into that, man. And it was flowing really beautiful. It was like, there was a oneness from start to finish that was really beautiful and impressive, man. You have some great ideas, things that you're doing already, creating your organization and fundraising, and it's just a beautiful message that needs to be this needs to be seen and heard at another level. I love the way the solo bass was throughout the whole presentation, and a beautiful sounding ensemble of unity also with all the folks within the global, man. I'm so proud to be a part of it and to feel everyone's development and love. You don't play like that together unless you're feeling each other's feelings, And yeah, congratulations, man. Really inspiring,
Thank you.
and good luck with all the things you're doing. Because it's all about ideas and following through with them, making them happen.
Thank you, Maestro.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add one other little thought that this project was, let's remember, this was recorded entirely remotely, I believe. But what's fantastic is it sounds so organic and natural. It has a very live quality to it. So, that's rare to hear, that synergy, which I think you captured. So, it's a releasable album from the get-go because of that intuitiveness that, first of all, you have an amazing band. And I'm a small, tiny little bit of that, but I'm talking about the students in the program, how phenomenal they really are and supportive of each other. So, but hats off to making it sound so organic, like I'm watching it perform live, or in the studio live for that matter. But
Yeah, thank you so much. And that is so much a tribute to the musicians who played on this. I can't, like Anastasia and Tyson and I were actually got to be in the studio together, which was amazing. As a rhythm section player, I love to play live with an amazing drummer and an amazing piano player like these two. But the horn players, they tracked, for the most part, they tracked to, I think, just me playing along with like basic logic files, like not a real live rhythm section. And the solos that they were able to come up with just, with no kind of like feedback yet from the rhythm section, it was incredible, like their creativity and their kind of vision to be able to actually make it happen. So I was really amazed at the musicianship of all the players on the record. So thank you to all of you.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. Danilo, any closing remarks?
Greg, connections. Wow, you achieved the goal you set up to do. I feel very much. The music is wonderful and deeply touched by how many of you have aligned with the BGI philosophy and being able to create your own point of view and your personal interests and how to express through music the things that you see in the world that you like to change. I am also motivated and very inspired to see how much work you put into this. So you can feel the growth of this CE presentation. Wow, it's amazing in terms of music, aesthetics, the way you presented it. Also, the pacing was fantastic. You invested so much energy, compassion, love. I feel all of those things. And I agree this should be placed in a PBS special as a part of the many of the different music that has changed our society, like starting with Billie Holiday interpretation of Strange Fruit, all the way to the Latin American movement with Victor Jara and all this great. I think this will really fit beautiful in this context. When I hear this thing, for me, there's so dear disparity, eating the rich. The poor is gonna eat the rich. This is sort of like the constant struggle. When we become a social activist, how do we work in creating more balance in the world? Anyway, one thing that I noticed really, thanks for bringing out Nelly Gray. Is that the Civil Darling that you presented?
Yeah, the Civil War song.
I myself have discovered a lot of. I work in one by Franz Ellen Watkin Harper, and we did one with Kurt Elling about Ohio about the racism. There was a slave running out. A very deep story about it. But what I want to say is that you touch upon Ohio, and Ohio is interesting because you see the map of the boats we have now, and we are struggling with a lot of division. We got work to do. A project like this will be of tremendous impact and will get a lot of reaction also. Segregation and institutionalized racism cause a deep rift in U.S. society for sure. Racism was declared a public health in Ohio. Most populated country, the disparity has been tremendously underscored by the pandemic. So what a perfect timing to put up a project like this, my brother.
Thank you.
It's also very challenging. It's gonna rub off a lot of people wrong, but that's what music's supposed to do. We are creative thinking and makers that provide community with joy, interaction, and you are imagining a new world. Here are some things I'm thinking for this project. Applying for a grant to bring, like what you say, I'm glad to hear that, because there's such a beautiful connection with new spaces being formed here. So you can actually do a whole tour in the United States and in unusual places. That's one. I think there is potential for a grant there. The other thing that I would add to that would be really great is there's a new concept here that you're tapping into that Patricia and I have been working for years on. It's called performance therapy, which is through the eyes of a performer connecting with music therapy. You start to, because you touch upon a little bit on it, about the impact of music, quantifying the impact that good music have over people to change society when you talk about the therapy. So I would like to continue this conversation with you, because
Yes,
I think
please.
there's potential to create collaborations with music therapists, and also another way of contributing to grant. I love that you presented all your reflections, but you also presented a concrete thing that you're gonna do, which is the foundation that you're doing. So musically wonderful. Keep moving in that direction. I can't tell you how proud I am of you. You have been one student that understands the difference between listening and respond versus the idea of listening and react. A master of listening and responded. Greg Loughman, you're killing it.
Thank you so much, Maestro. Thank you.
Thank you, Danilo. And Greg, do you have any last comment or any last observation and emotion, anything you want to share with us?
Maybe just one more thing, kind of like on what Danilo said regarding Ohio and kind of like where I'm coming from. One thing that it didn't make it into the presentation was a lot of these diseases and deaths of despair. The biggest spike is in the two areas of the United States called the Rust Belt and Appalachia. And where I grew up is basically right the overlap of both of those. Southeastern Ohio is Appalachia and it's the Rust Belt. And the biggest spike in demographics of those people in that area are white males from 25 to 65. So it's basically, I kind of feel like if not for the grace of God and music and my family, that could be me. I could be one of these statistics of death, of a death of despair. So that's kind of what makes it personal for me in that regard, and how I do feel like music has that kind of importance. And to the extent that I can activate that and amplify that, I'm really, that's what I feel like it means to be a musician, and that's what Global has helped me kind of find in myself. So that's it, and thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Greg.
Marco, before I forget, I love those reflections with the graffiti, by the way, and the way you took your time to develop.
Mhm.
Just a musical, when it goes like, popping, like when the trumpet comes in with the AD, that part there. If you take a little bit more time before that comes in, that might raise more hair in the body.
Yeah.
All right, when the trumpet
Okay.
comes in, because it's coming out of your bass, and the trumpet come out with those two notes, it's like wow. But if you take a little bit more time on it, I think you get more electricity.
All right. Yeah. That's good.
All right. Greg, congratulations.
Thank you.